The term hell, or some form of it, has been taught and believed by many in cultures around the world, presented as a place of torment and punishment for the wicked, for one's enemies, and the cowardice in battle. The Encyclopedia Britannica states, hell, in many religious traditions, the abode, especially beneath the earth, of the unredeemed dead or the spirits of the damned. In its archaic sense, the term hell refers to the underworld, a deep pit or distant land of shadows where the dead are gathered. From the underworld come dreams, ghosts, and demons, and in its most terrible precincts, sinners pay, some say, eternally the penalty for their crimes. In ancient Egypt, one's descent into hell was the consequence of the hearts of those having died being weighed on scales and found wanting, having been judged by the Pharaoh himself proceeding through the underworld, a place filled with demons, fiery lakes, and serpents. The only hope of escape was to follow carefully the instructions of the Book of the Dead. In the Hindu religion of India, Naraka is the equivalent to hell. Here, sinners are tormented after death. It is the home of one of their many gods, Yama, who is the god of death. Some of their ancient texts mentions 4 hells, another 7, another 21. The number runs into the thousands. It is described as located in the south of the universe and beneath the earth. In Greece, the god Hades, also called in Rome Pluto, was the god of the dead and lord of the underworld, with which his name became closely associated. His abode is filled with caves and pathways, a place of gloom and torment, of judgment and retribution. Hades then became the place of the dead, where the souls of men would eventually go. While Christianity advanced throughout the Mediterranean world, some of its most influential theologians modified their teaching on human nature and the afterlife to that of Greek and Roman theories. In the words of the 2 most famous Greek philosophers, Plato and Socrates, whose writings for over 3 centuries have influenced the teachings and belief of Western culture in politics, science, and religion, their teachings of the immortality of the soul helped lay the foundation for the false teaching of eternal torment in hell. Building upon the early teachings of the mystical Orphic school and philosophers of the 5th and 6th century BC like Parmenides, Heraclitus, and Pythagoras, who all contributed to the notion of the dualistic nature of being, where the soul was viewed as divine and immortal and the body corrupt and temporal, being only a shell or tomb in which the immortal soul resides. Plato, the Athenian philosopher and founder of the Platonist school of thought and the Academy, the first institution of higher learning in the Western world, once stated, "The soul of man is immortal and imperishable." The other, Socrates, a philosopher also from Athens, is credited as one of the founders of Western philosophy, affirmed, "All men's souls are immortal, but the souls of the righteous are immortal and divine." The belief in hell and the immortality of the soul are naturally and inseparably tied together, so that the foundation for hell is built upon the assumption that the soul is immortal. As early as the 2nd century AD, there had been writings claiming to be the very words of the apostles of Jesus, which staked their claim for acceptance as inspired scriptures to be included in the Bible canon and read in all Christian churches. The Apocalypse of Peter was one such, professing to be written by the Apostle Peter. It sets forth the tortures sinners will endure in hell, comparing these with the glorious life of saints in paradise. Punishing angels oversee the punishment of those who enter. Each sin is executed with an equal and exacting reward. Blasphemers are hung by the tongue. Those who pervert righteousness are tormented in a lake of flaming mire. Murderers are set in a pit of poisonous snakes, while the spirits of their victims stand by and watch, declaring that God's judgment is just. The Apocalypse of Peter was undoubtedly read widely in some Christian churches of the 2nd century and was deemed part of Holy Scriptures by some well-known authorities. Celebrated Church Father Clement of Alexandria is known to have quoted from it as if from Scripture. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, it was Gnosticism, a Hellenistic or Greek religious movement that entered original Christianity from early pagan sources and that viewed matter as evil and spirit as good. Gnosticism adopted a firmly anti-somatic stance, that is, against the body, and similarly adopted the concept of the divine soul, the pneumatic or spiritual soul, as the Gnostic would say, of the same substance as the divinity. The Gnostics were a group of 1st century religious apostates whose teaching rivaled the teachings of the early church and threatened to supplant it. Shortly after, the gospel began filtering into the Roman world near the Mediterranean Sea. The word Gnosticism comes from the Greek word gnosis, meaning knowledge. They believed there was mystical or hidden wisdom for those possessing true knowledge, which brought with it the salvation of the soul. They believed the human spirit was naturally good, but was a prisoner in the body. On the other hand, the body was viewed as evil. The goal, therefore, was to free the spirit from its material prison through the secret knowledge, or gnosis, they possessed. The teachings of body-soul duality and the immortality of the soul was solidly established by the time of 430 AD, around the time of the revered theologian St. Augustine, in almost all Christian teaching. He is regarded as one of the most influential Christian thinkers who saw human beings as a composite of body and soul. He asserted that the soul is immortal since it possesses truth. And since the soul can understand scientific truth, and truth is immortal, the soul likewise is immortal. In his book, The City of God, well regarded as one of the great masterpieces of the Middle Ages, its influence helped shape the thinking of Western civilization even to the present. In it, Augustine states, "But I see I must speak a little more carefully of the nature of death. For although the human soul is truly affirmed to be immortal, yet it also has a certain death of its own. For it is therefore called immortal because, in a sense, it does not cease to live and to feel, while the body is called mortal because it can be forsaken of all life." Here, Augustine believes and teaches that death is only of the body, but not of the soul. Though he states, it may be a matter of wonder how the body can be said to be killed by that death, in which it is not forsaken by the soul, but being animated and rendered sensitive by it, is tormented. For in that penal and everlasting punishment, the soul is justly said to die because it does not live in connection with God. The Bible states, "The soul that sinneth, it shall die." But Augustine believes that death does not mean a cessation or end of life, but a mere separation from the life of God. He held that hell was a literal place of fiery and eternal torment, where God's wrath and divine justice was poured out on the wicked. He states, "By a miracle of their most omnipotent Creator, they, living creatures who are damned, can burn without being consumed and suffer without dying." The City of God, Book 21, Chapter 9. Today, this false teaching has survived and has captured the mind and imagination of the wider so-called Christian world and denominations, so that all but a few have escaped this lie of Satan. Satan's war against God has always been directed against his church. The Bible identifies them as those that keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 15, it also states, "And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. But God had promised that the gates of hell shall not prevail against them. They shall be pure, undefiled, and distinct from those who have become the counterfeit of the true church, filled with all the lies and deceptions of Satan, ready for destruction." The message of warning and mercy is, "Come out of her, my people."